I want to welcome Laura Berman.
Deep in the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, what does the future hold in store? Where has our journey brought us? How can we learn from what's gone before? What has experience taught us? We are the future. We can reach for the stars. We feel at home in our own backyard. We want to be who we are. Friendship will light the darkest hours. True love will hold the vision. Peace and goodwill on earth is ours. Let it be our decision. La 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 la. We are the future. We can reach for the stars. We feel at home in our own backyard. We want to be who we are. Deep in the darkest winter night, here with our candles burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, feel how the year is turning. Know that our year is turning.
Thank you, Laura. That was the perfect song for today. And Reverend Verona.
Good evening, everyone, and happy solstice. Such a fertile evening we are in here together so that we can be in a place of absolute co-creation as well as World Meditation Day. So really we have chosen to come today to co-create in ways that have never happened before. And as David said earlier, this is the new year. Because if we didn't have a calendar, if the Romans hadn't given us a calendar, this is the new year. So the title that came to me for this special, precious, wondrous day is Shining the Inner Light. Shining the inner light in, through, and as each one of us. So before we get started, though, I'd like to start with a little giggle. And the little giggle for today is there was a burglar who broke into someone's home. And this burglar broke into these people's home, and this burglar was really like taking all sorts of things: iPads, MacBooks, iPhones, all sorts of jewelry, jewels, everything, all sorts of, I don't know, kitchen utensils, the best and greatest NutriBullet, everything. They were just getting everything. And all of a sudden they heard a being say to them, "Jesus is watching you." And so the burglar said, "What?" And the being said again, I said Jesus is watching you. So the burglar's thinking, okay, okay, all right, let me get a light and see what's going on. Shine a light and see what's going on. So the burglar gets a flashlight, looks all around, and as the burglar is looking around, the burglar sees in the corner, there's a parrot. Okay, and the burglar says, okay, all right, all right. Who are you and what are you saying to me? And the parrot said, well, I'm Moses. And you heard what I said to you. And the burglar says, okay, what kind of crazy people would name a parrot Moses? And the parrot waits a minute, takes a breath, and says, the same kind of crazy people that would name a 150-pound Rottweiler Jesus. Isn't that wonderful? It's so good to have a giggle in God. You know, it's so good to know that humor is a part of what spirit is also. And to know that as we're talking about the light, lights can do all sorts of things because that burglar had a light. So anyway, I was thinking after being aware of this being such a precious and wonderful day. Yes, Jesus is watching you. Thanks, David. Arf, arf. After being in this precious, knowing this is a precious and wonderful day, I was thinking of what are the traditions of rituals and celebrations of light that we are a part of now. So I'd like to go through them briefly so that we all know what, if we don't know. First, there's Diwali. And I didn't know about Diwali for a long time in my early adult life, but now I know about it. It's the celebration and the festival of the triumph of the light with lanterns. So it's the triumph of the light over darkness, which is that time we're in exactly now. Then after that, after Diwali, there's Advent. And Advent is a celebration where candles symbolize love, hope, joy, and peace. And these candles are lit during Advent. And the other thing about Advent is there are Advent calendars too that, you know, you open up every day. Every day there's something happening before we get to the day, the big day. However, Advent is also a candle lit celebration. And there's Hanukkah, which Hanukkah represents the celebration of perseverance, miracles, and plenty. Think about it. There's always more than enough. Plenty always precedes need. And Hanukkah is a celebration of that. And it has to do with the light too. You know, the 8 candles on the menorah, there's light. And then the final one comes after Christmas, and it's Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa is also a candle lighting ritual, celebration, ceremony, and it's representing the 7 principles of community values and community building. So we have all of these different ways that we get to celebrate the light. Now, in today's world, modern world, celebrating the light may not seem like anything because we have everything. You know, we have every bit of electricity and light, solar power, everything we'd like. However, I believe that in this time, this year, 2025, going into 2026, the celebration of light is all these celebrations of light are wonderful foundational pieces for the transmutation that the world is going through, and that each one of us chose to be here for. There's a lot of things going on, and some of them give the appearance of not being God things, spirit things, those sort of spiritual things. However, it's all good, it's all God. So these rituals that we can all participate in for the light are very important even now. I was thinking, so what does the light do? First, what really is the light? Because it came to me, okay, so what really could we call the light? There are all sorts of things. For me, for today, for us, the light definition is it symbolizes the divine consciousness awakening within, not arriving from on the outside of us, but the divine consciousness awakening within. And that divine consciousness is like a circle with no circumference, yet each one of us is the center of that circle because each one of us is what spirit is. So once again, the light symbolizes divine consciousness awakening from within. So then I realized, what does the light do? Really, what does light do? Not be, but what does the light do? So the light illuminates. And for us, the illumination of the light is not like I this today turned on my ring light before we got started. This is the illumination of the light itself, capital L, is to make things clear, uplift with understanding, and to enliven. So that's the illumination of the light within, through, and as us, within, through, and as the planet, within, through, and as every activity. Second thing the light does is it radiates. When we look at the Zoom screen, if we really look at each other's with the divine eyes, it's radiating with the divine here. because each one of us is a custom made, bespoke version of spirit. You know, that Bible verse, we're made in the image and likeness of spirit, of the divine. It's true. However, we all look differently, and that's the cool part of it, or that's the fun part of it, or that's the, I don't know, the crazy and wondrous part of it all. However, each of us is radiating the light of the divine, and radiating the light of the divine means to emanate the presence, to send out a glow, or to exude. We are each exuding the light of the divine in our own spectacular, bespoke, and wonderful ways. So the third thing the light does is one of my favorite words just because it feels good in my mouth, elucidate. And the light elucidates. And that word, for our purposes, means bringing understanding to something previously obscure or confusing, or to decode something, or to interpret something. So the light within and as each one of us can do this also. So all these stories, all these words about the light and what it means and what it can do, radiate, illuminate, elucidate, made me think of a story that I had known for a while. And this is a story about a young woman who lived in a village, and her name is Aurora. And thank you, David, for the screen slide for the meditation, because Aurora actually means, that name, I looked it up, actually means the first light of day. So this is about a young woman named Aurora, and she lived in a village where everyone was given a lantern. And everyone kept their lantern near their doorstep, near the threshold of their door, wherever in the beginning of their home. And all these lanterns were burning brightly in her village, except Aurora's. Aurora's lantern was very dim. And so Aurora took her lantern and put it off to the side, like off to the side with some plant pots in front of it or something to hide it. And so as the days and the years went on, a sage came to visit the village. And the sage, when that sage came to visit the village, said to Aurora, "Where is your lantern?" And she said, "Oh, I don't put mine out because it's very dim." And the sage said, "Is there a reason, do you think?" And she said, "Oh yeah, because I'm not enough. I'm the not enoughness of things. And so that's why my lantern doesn't shine bright like everyone else's lantern shines." And so the sage reminded her that, and reminding us today, that our light doesn't depend upon our worth. As long as we remember who we are, stop believing in the dimness, then our inner light is a reflection of the divine within mirroring itself. So when Aurora listened to this famous sage, or this wise sage who told her this, Aurora decided, you know what, I'm going to stop believing. I'm going to release and surrender my belief in the dimness within me, and I get to know that my light has nothing to do with my worth. I am the light just because I am. And that's true for us. I am the light. We are the light just merely because we exist. So thereafter, in that village, Aurora sat with other people whose light was dim. That was her job. That was her purpose. That's what she loved to do, sitting with other people and help them believe and know that there was a fallacy about their dimness, and reminding them of their inner radiance. And this story about Aurora and the village and the lanterns reminds me of a quote or a statement by Michael Bernard Beckwith, and it says, "The light is not something you seek. It is what you become when you release every false idea about yourself. When we search for the light as if it is a distant, hidden, or reserved for the spiritually elite, we forget the truth of our brilliance." Just take a minute, breathe that in, what MBB says. When I search for the light, I absolutely am turning upside down, inside out, and going backwards. If we see, the light isn't something I seek, it's what I become when I release every false idea about myself. Oh, any false ideas about ourselves. And I can give us the whole list. However, I'm not going to give them energy tonight by listing them all. However, it could be all sorts of things. It could be anything that we think is unlike the truth of who and what we are, unlike spirit within, unlike the divine perfection that is all around us and all within us. I love the reading too that this light within us is light within everybody else. So that when I see this light within me, I also see this light within Christine. I see this light within Margie. I see this light within Laura. I see this light within every single being on the planet, and not just on us human beings. This light is within everything that walks and crawls and flies and hops and slithers and swims and everything else. So when we think about this inner light, shining the inner light, and knowing that as I release any false ideas about myself, the inner light has no choice but to show up. I was thinking, okay, so spirit, in what way does this happen for the spiritual being having the human experience that we all are? Because we are all divine spiritual beings that are limitless and completely have all possibilities. And it's all poured into this thing we call a mobile ashram, better known as our body temple. So I thought, well, in what ways can this really, the practicality of it show up in life? And three P's unfolded and showed up for me, what I call the practical unfoldments. And these practical unfoldments can radiate, elucidate, and illuminate, because remember from the beginning, that's what the light can and does do. So the first one is perspective shift, which means I shift my perspective. And the way to shift the perspective is not just say, oh, I'm going to think something different. The perspective shift is prayerfully seeing with divine eyes. Really prayerfully seeing with divine eyes, looking at something and saying, you know what? There is a blessing in this. Prayerfully seeing with the divine eyes, not with our human eyes, but with the divine eyes. And the divine eyes see the perfection in all of us. The divine eyes see the possibilities in all of us. The divine eyes see every single creative force within and as us. So that's the first way, have a perspective shift. Prayerfully seeing with divine eyes. And the reason the prayerfully part is important is that prayer is not a beseeching conversation with the divine. Prayer is knowing and realizing what is already ours to have and saying to the divine, thank you. Thank you. Stating it full out, knowing that this is mine. I deserve it because I am. So, first thing, perspective shift. Second thing is our purpose embrace. And our purpose embrace is like, what did I come for? Why am I here? Why did I choose to incarnate at this time? And we all have a purpose, and that purpose may or may not be what we do, what we call a job. However, it is still, we have a purpose. And the purpose embrace, what it does once I embrace my purpose, it opens the floodgates of the Christ intention that is and as each one of us, because there's a Christ intention within and as each one of us. And that Christ intention is ours to know, to live, to embody, to embrace, to enjoy, all those things. So that's the second thing, have an embrace, purpose embrace. The third practical unfoldment is praise, praise, praise. And by praise, I mean giving thanks. And this is a twofold thing. Giving thanks for something that doesn't look like it's something I'm to give thanks for. Okay. Giving thanks for something that I have often say this, that comes wrapped up in the sandpaper of life, knowing that it is still for my highest and best good. And the second part of giving thanks is acknowledging the good in everything. And, oh, this is it. Giving thanks before it happens. Giving thanks before I can see it. Giving thanks before it's on the human plane, but knowing that the feeling tone of the energetic of being the praise of spirit makes it happen. It's part of the making it happen, opens up the space, opens up a vacuum for it to show up. So the three practical unfoldments, a perspective shift, our purpose embrace, and praise. And these three practical unfoldments, they are ancient, even though we're now talking about them today, December 21st, 2025. And what makes me know they're ancient is that I found a verse in the book of Job, long suffering, long faithful and trustful Job. It was 22nd chapter, 28th verse, and it says, what you decide on will be done, and the light will shine as you. Woo-hoo. What you decide on will be done, and the light will shine as you. Think about it. So the way this is working practically for me, not practically, the way this is working in my humanness, because as I said, spiritual being having the human experience, and my practitioner, when I talk to him, sometimes I will say, "Well, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know that?" And he'll say, you're having a human experience, kiddo. You're not just spirit floating around all the time. You chose to be in a body, and so that's part of it. So the way this whole these three P's could show up for me, the way the light can shine for me in these three P's, the way it has been shining. I think you all know that the earlier part of this year, I wrote a book. And the book is called Destination Freedom Flying Out of Debt. Anyway, I wrote a book and I did all the things for my book that I needed to do. And the important thing here is, in this example, the verbiage I'm using. I did all the things for the book versus I was being for the book. I was being in the book because the doing is kind of, there's the difference. The doing is our humanness. Like I'm scurrying around doing this, doing that, doing this, doing that. However, the being. So I did all the things. I sold quite a bit of books. I got a chance to go to Salt Lake City. I did books, da, 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 and then it seemed to slow down a little. However, my marketing director told me, buy books. Make sure you have books. Just buy books. My marketing director, I'd like you all to know, David knows, is my daughter. Yes, she has a marketing degree. However, she is my daughter. So when she said that, I said, well, okay. However, and then I said, maybe I should listen to the degree I paid for in college. So anyway, so I get the books and they're sitting in my Zen room, which is where I am just this moment. And recently I walked in the Zen room and I saw them on the shelf and I just thought, what's going to happen with those books? I don't want it to be what I've seen happen to other people, like the author's quote unquote worst thoughts, which is the books just sit there and collect dust. So I used the three P's. I used the three P's. First, I had a perspective shift. Prayerfully, I started seeing with divine eyes. And I actually out loud said a prayer like, okay, Spirit, I'm ready for you to show me. I'm ready. We're having a conversation here, and I know that something spectacular is to happen with these pieces of paper called books on this shelf. So I'm opening my heart and my mind and my soul. Second thing, my purpose embrace. And I reminded myself, and your purpose is to share your life experiences, what you have learned with the world. Your purpose is to let other people know that the abundance, the prosperity, the affluence of the universe is not just for you and a few other people. It's for everyone on the planet. We're all encoded with it when we come. Third thing was I just gave thanks. I looked at the books on the shelf and I just thought, well, thank you, God. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, universe. They're here. I have the wherewithal to have them. I have the space to put them. I have an extra room with a shelf in it to put them in and let it go. I surrendered it all. The next day, I got a phone call from someone who, way back in February, I went to their bookstore to say, I have this book. I'd like you to carry this book. And they said, well, that's not available to us because you printed it, you published it in the wrong the publisher, that's not for us, and we only buy books from so and so. So I said, well, okay, thank you. And at the time, the manager of the store said, however, it sounds like a great idea. And maybe we could get in touch some other time and do something else. This was in February of this year. The day after I did the three P's, perspective shift, purpose embrace, and praise, the manager of that store called me and said, Verona, I was looking at my phone and I got this message. I didn't know who it was from. I turned it on and I recognized your voice. I would love you to come and do a book reading, a book event, a book reading, a book event. And I'd love you to come in February of next year. I think it's the time. I think it's spectacular. I'm going to have a couple of other people come and be with you, but now's the time. So I'm so happy that you answered your phone. I'm so happy we're back talking to each other again. And let's get this all going. This, my beloveds, is absolutely shining my inner light. And I wasn't blasting it like making myself obnoxious or known, just going through the three P's, doing these things, shining the light, knowing the truth, and allowing myself to know when you decide what you decide on will be done, and the light will shine as you, like it says in the book of Job. So this evening, I'm challenging you, I'm inviting you, I'm encouraging you to, in elucidation, eliminate illumination and radiance, shine the inner light with your perspective shift, your purpose embrace, and praise, 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 praise. I know because each one of us chose to be here at this moment that we are absolutely the most important parts of the healing of the planet, the healing of the world, and the transformation of this, the first day of our year on this mighty solstice day. It is done, and so it is. Amen.
Thanks, Verona. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. What a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. This great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within our earth. Yeah, it is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It's time. It is time now. What a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. It is time now. It is time that we thrive. It is time to lead ourselves into the well. It is time now. What a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love, as love and light we lead in light. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love with our lives.